I ate for keeping my friend's sister's money. So hi guys, I don't even know how to start all this, but as the title says, I am questioning to keep my friend's money. A year ago, I moved to a new place in the same city after a breakup with my ex-girlfriend of 4 years. I was in a dark place, and during the end of my relationship, I became fat and had substance abuse problems. I mainly smoked weed. I met this friend in a job we did together, and at the time, we were great pals, which was 2 years before the breakup. During those 2 years, I had a very good job and was well off, and I used to help him out with cash when needed. We stopped talking as much but occasionally would catch up online, and after the breakup, he was my one friend. You see, I am a person who is quite introverted. You wouldn't say because I have natural charisma and am confident, but I generally tend to have very few people that I stick around. Once I broke up with my ex-girlfriend, he was the only one I hung out with. I also had a great roommate, but that's about it. What happened with the friend was that when I moved in the new place on September 2022, him and me would meet for coffee, and one time we went to a city old town and had a beer and he asked me a strange question. Could his sister transfer money to my bank account and I create an account for gambling sites so she could play? At first I didn't even know what to respond, but he then proceeded to tell me that his sister has her own account banned so she wouldn't play. I was unsure at first, but he convinced me. Soon after, she put in like €100 and won 800 and lost it all bit by bit. Now, in this case, I felt very uneasy. Where I live, the cost of living is quite cheap, so 800 is someone's monthly salary. But I acted as if nothing had happened. This friend's father was alive but had given a family bar to that sister, and after that time, they would regularly ask me to transfer the money to the gambling site. I will say that at the time, I was struggling with a lot because of the breakup and was unemployed, but I have some online hobbies that paid for my rent, but I was barely scraping by. After a while I started doing better but was struggling financially. They regularly still asked to gamble on my account, so I one time asked instead of gamble the money away, can I borrow it for a month, and the sister of the friend refused, but then I said I won't do it and they were like, I'ma give you % if I win and $20 if you do it, so I agreed, because $20. This was a regular thing and we ended up in few arguments about it. I moved out of the city to my hometown and am planning to go abroad for work, but as of now I am still unemployed, and a week ago I asked that friend to borrow me money for the travel and I'll pay him back after a month when I get my first salary in the new job. He said he would be able to borrow me the money, $200. This is last Tuesday. He said he can do it on Monday. Same night, he asked me if I could transfer the money to the gambling site for his sister. I only agreed because I had the promise of him borrowing me the money I really needed. He did the same on Friday and Saturday. All sums transferred adds up to €400, and all of them his sister lost while gambling, and he still promised to borrow it to me. Ironic that I originally asked for that sum to be borrowed to me, and I have previously borrowed that sum of money for him. Monday rolls by and he messages me that he won't be able to borrow me that money. Now I feel really hurt by him, and in general he created an extremely bad situation for me, because previously I would have had time to find another person to do it, but I trusted him. I say to him, it's all fine, and I'll figure it out. For the rest of the day, he doesn't text me at all, and only in the evening, he texts me, asking to transfer money to a gambling site. So there I was fuming and contemplating. Then I asked other friends for advice, and he said to dip with the money. I didn't want to make rash decisions, but I wanted some payback. I actually got scared for a second, and I feel completely stupid for this. I talked to my friend, and he mentioned that in gambling, you have to pay taxes on your winnings. Basically, through the whole time, they transferred me around 15K, got back from gambling site 13-ish, and in theory on that 13K me personally, because it's my account, I'll have to pay taxes on it. I am not sure, and judging by the past occasions, I cannot trust him to keep the promise of paying those taxes when needed. So I ended up transferring the money to the gambling site, €150, and they ended up winning 1K. I am genuinely planning to keep that 1K and cover my trip expenses. Once I settle in new work I will think about sending it back or keeping it in case of the day I need to pay taxes for this unlawful gambling. Since gambling with someone else's money is kinda illegal, I wish some advice from the Reddit community. TLDR, I am planning to keep gambling winnings of my friend's sister, because he lead me on, broke my trust and kept gambling on my account while I was struggling financially, and asked for his support by borrowing me money instead of gambling it away. My friend accused me fathering his children, but I didn't update. The test gave the following results. I had never had S*X with Natalie. According to me, Natalie did have S*X with me, according to her. WTF. We all were so confused and came to the conclusion that this was a failed test. But I kept the results in mind because ain't no way my brain just put 2 and 2 together. I was freaking out. After we got back to Trevin's place, I talked to A and Trevin and told them my theory. They didn't believe it, but I said it could have been possible. My theory was that she stole my condoms somehow and inseminated herself. I gave Trevin the range in which she could have done it, and we started to check the years of footage Trevin stored. Natalie has never been to my house. And I have fucked my GF in Trevin's house. Trevin has cameras in his house and records all footage and saves up about 2 years worth of footage before deleting old footage. Trevin and A agreed that I could not be the father of the twins based on my location during their conception. So we asked Natalie and told her my theory. Now this is what she said. Trevin's not the father of her kids, I'm the father of just the baby, but I should take responsibility. She just contradicted herself since she first said I was the father of the 3. I need to man up and own up to what I did. I told her that I think she inseminated herself with semen she obtained without my consent and that I'll press charges, and we just started shouting at each other. She said how would I even get evidence for that, major fuck up because I'm recording the whole convo, and I said I'll start by looking through Trevin's home surveillance footage around the time of the baby's conception. She because visibly angry and went crazy, shouting, violent, the whole deal. Then she said if I did any of that then she'll claim SAW. I told her I recorded the whole thing and thanked her for the evidence. She just shut up and locked herself in their bedroom. We started looking through the footage of Trevin's house to see when she inseminated herself but found nothing until I remembered that I crashed at his place when my house was under renovation. My GF would visit me at Trevin's place from time to time and we'd have sex, so I thought Natalie took my condoms around that time. Also during that time I had started to drink a lot, so I became really careless. Again to our surprise we found nothing. She'd visit me on Mondays and Wednesdays at Trevin's during that month, and in the whole footage we found nothing. Apparently she always swallowed. I asked my GF and it's been that way since we started dating. So now I'm confused as to how Natalie got my semen. Then A finds footage of a night in which Natalie left her room and returned after an hour or so. We tried to find the footage of where she went and found that she went to the living room, where I slept. You can see us talk for a while, then she goes into the kitchen and gets me a drink. Then I saw myself collapse as she laid me on the sofa. Then I saw her taking off my shorts and sang me. I was shook, so were Trevin and I. I honestly didn't know what to say, and I just made a copy of that footage and saved it just in case. Trevin then rushed to Natalie and tried to attack her, but we restrained him. We asked Natalie to tell us the truth and she revealed everything after I told her we saw the video. I recorded our whole convo, according to her. Trevin is abusive and she hates him. She caught Trevin cheating but was too scared to say anything because of how he is. She wanted revenge, so she decided to cheat on him. She went to the sperm bank for the twins but felt bad after they were born because Trevin was changing as a person. She wanted to tell him the truth but found he was still cheating. Furious, she decided she was gonna cheat. She always found me attractive and tried to seduce me, but it didn't happen. I don't remember her seducing me. I only ever interacted with her with a third person present. She decided she was just gonna drug me and have my child. I legit just left after that and haven't spoken to either of them. I told it to stay there just in case Trevin goes crazy and tried to hurt her or the kids. I'm currently talking to a lawyer about everything and I'm just lost for words. This might be the final update cause y'all might see this shit on the news based on how everything's going. I can't truly do anything until the paternity tests come back. Let me know if you have any serious advice. I'm just so fucked right now. But I do have all the evidence I need, so I'm not that worried for some reason. Don't comment useless BS. Block me in. Good luck with that. Reading a few posts reminded me of one from my misspent youth. In the UK we have had a thing called day release, typically for technical subjects, and you'd work for your employer 4 days and be released for 1 to attend the Technica college. Now this was typically a long day. Mine at the time was 8 o'clock to 20:30 as I recall, with 2 breaks. I was at the time 17/18 and commuted to work on a new, at the time, Triumph Bonneville. I had friends on my course and also friends on other course, and most of the young guys used motorcycles. For whatever reason on this particular day the student car park was rammed, no space even for a motorcycle. No problem, the staff car park had several motorcycle spaces and there were 0 staff using a motorcycle, so 4 of us parked there and went off for our lectures. Note these spaces were unused, never used, and did not block anyone. Come quitting time, rather than call around the campus or even leave a note or something, some ass on the staff and driven a small coach, sort of one half a bus, bigger than a minivan, approximately 20-seater, and blocked us firmly in. Locked it and left, obviously thinking how clever they were. We scratched our heads for a few seconds, then noticed these were those air-powered doors with a rubber strip in the middle. No problem, a bit of leverage and we were in. No steering lock. This was probably from the late 60s, it was an old bus then. With 3 of us pushing, the smallest guy, Mark, sat in the driver's seat and we pushed the bus clear, and then a light bulb moment. The principal's car and the higher-ups had their designated spaces more or less opposite, so we returned the favor and pushed the bus right up, blocking them in. But we're not making it easy for them. If we could push it clear, so could they. However, bet it is a damn sight harder to push a bus with flat tires than without. Went around with a box of matches and wedged all those valves in. Grabbed the bikes and buggered off as the coach settled down onto its rims. Ex-girlfriend revenge. Was with this girl for 5 years. I was very committed to her, always encouraged her to do her best. She was able to open an online business and make decent money. I always had her back, even helped with her nails. We were a team. We ran into issues in our relationship, so she smack talks me to a guy, breaks up with me and goes and fucks him the very next day. Less than 24 hours of breaking up, and we still lived together. We lived together 4 years. Came home crying and all that jazz. We lived together and I had nowhere to go, plus I paid there, so I wasn't just gonna up and leave. You should have seen this conversation she had with him. Made me out to be a deadbeat monster. Of course I loved her and was furious. Was so hard to process, didn't sleep well. Messed up in school, etc. Eventually I get my own apartment. She is trying to convince me she is sorry. And I guess I have a big dumb heart. I wanted her to move in and save her money to pay for her credit card debt she put herself in. Of course I was mad. But I still had love, so all the crying and pleading I thought she loved me. It was all a lie. Fast forward months later and she is sending nudes and chatting on Snapchat with other dudes. Confronted her and she says sorry and I'm just gonna go to my mom's. She just left and ghosted me. Didn't call me or ask if I was okay, nothing. I reached out to her and she is either cold, takes days to respond, and eventually ignores me. It makes me so angry and I feel like a fool to give her so much of my trust and time. So I reported her to the IRS for unreported income. Am I wrong? Was it too far? At the end of the day, she cheated and betrayed me. She endangered my life by making me sound abusive and uptalking herself and her business and how she can afford this and that. My 26F friend, 25F, wants to cancel the Paris leg of my trip to visit her. Hoping to gain some perspective on this issue. My friend and I met in college and have been close friends for the past 7 years. About 3 years ago she got married and moved to her husband's home country, Luxembourg, from the US. She's always wanted me to come out and visit her, but I've never been able to afford such an extravagant trip. I got a new job 5 months ago and now have disposable income for the first time in my life. We got to talking and decided I'll come to visit her for Thanksgiving this year. I can only get enough time off work to come for 5 days, so we planned for me to come to Luxembourg and us to visit Paris for 2 days in the middle of my stay. Since I've never been to Europe, and come on, it's Paris. Last week she sent me a TikTok saying that Paris has bedbugs and we should cancel our trip there. I told her that I thought we should do some research to see how we could still visit safely, as it is a very important part of the trip for me. She sent me several paragraphs about how hotels probably aren't doing what they're supposed to do for bedbugs since it's expensive, and Airbnbs don't have the same resources as hotels, so she wouldn't feel comfortable staying there either. She also said there are even bedbugs on the metro, which we would need to use to see everything I want to see. If we brought bedbugs back to her apartment, they couldn't use chemicals since they're illegal in the EU and would have to use heat guns that cost €200 to €500 per treatment and damage electronics and furniture. In her own words, it would be a nightmare and the risk is not worth it to her. She finished up by suggesting if I still want to go, I can go without her towards the end of my trip, then return the day before my flight to stay in a hotel before returning home. That way we can both enjoy the visit. I'm so hurt and honestly feeling unwelcome. Yes, I want to see Paris, but the whole reason I'm going to Europe is so we can spend time together, so I don't feel like me going alone would be a fair compromise. If I have to go without her I will, but it's not what I want to do. I would have just flown home from Paris if I knew I was going to have to get a hotel anyway and deal with all of this. I feel like there are precautions we could take to visit safely, like driving instead of taking the metro. It's about 4 hours from where she lives, which is practically a day trip in the US. If she was that worried about checking the mattresses for bedbugs, we could even go just for the day. It would be hard to squeeze it all in, but I could narrow it down to fit in a day if it meant we could go together. But instead of thinking of ways we could still go together, she was like, go without me. I don't think she's realizing how big of a trip this is for me. She can go to Paris whenever she wants, but I have no idea when, if I'll be able to visit again, and she knew this was important to me from the start. I don't think TikTok is a reliable news source, and a lot of the research I did indicated that Paris, like most big cities, always has some bedbugs and the problem is being blown up by the media since the Olympics are coming up. I don't know how much is an actual infestation versus the media dramatizing the situation. I feel like she's overreacting, but I'm also willing to consider that I'm underreacting. Am I being unreasonable to want us to go together? I want to be sensitive to her anxieties, because I know how frustrating it's been for her to finally get an apartment, but I also don't feel like she's being fair. I recognize the risks, but feel like if we're smart about it we could still go together safely. How can I bring up some compromises to her without her getting upset at me? Am I just being naive and need to get over Paris? Any insight you can offer is much appreciated. TLDR. Friend doesn't want to go to Paris anymore, given the bedbugs, but I still feel like we could do things to visit safely. How could we compromise so she feels safe, and I still get to see Paris with her? New girlfriend and I both have extensive sexual pasts. About 3 months ago, I, 27M, met a girl, 27F, on Hinge and it has been absolutely fantastic. Despite it being such a short time, I could seriously see myself spending the rest of my life with this girl, and I know she feels the same. The way I would describe it is we are extremely compatible, similar in so many of the ways that matter but also different enough to keep everything interesting. One of the things I have loved the most about our relationship is that we are both very experienced with dating. We are both very emotionally aware of our feelings and what we are looking for in a partner, and it's allowed us to really put everything out in the open. As such, we've had some discussions about our sexual history. To be frank, we both have been players in the past. I've been with 30 to 35 women, have lost track over the years, and she told me that she's been with about 40 men. Because I like this girl so much, I've been dealing with a bit of retroactive jealousy, thinking about these previous partners. It's very strange to me because I have never been the jealous type in my whole life. It's not that I even remotely care about how many guys she's been with. That would be so hypocritical considering my own sexual history. She is absolutely gorgeous, and I think it might be making me feel a bit insecure that I can't live up to the guys she's been with in the past. Again, this is a very new feeling for me as I'm very confident in myself, but I just like this girl so much. What do you think is making me feel this way and how can I address it? TLDR. Hitting it off with a girl. We both have extensive sexual histories and experience. I've been feeling a bit insecure that I can't live up to the guys she's been with in the past. What do you think is making me feel this way and how can I address it?